Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Gentlewoman with Grace Hayden. How are you guys doing today? I hope everyone is well. If you can kind of hear my voice, you can hear that I'm a little sick. And this is actually the best I've sounded all week, I'm pretty sure, because I have had the flu. Not confirmed, but I'm pretty sure I had the flu. I had all the symptoms to have the flu. So that was not fun. Yesterday and Friday were probably my worst days of it. But it got me thinking about consistency and how I continued being consistent with, my schoolwork, attending classes. I mean, this wasn't my smartest move in the book, but I was wearing my mask and everything, and I was washing my hands, not touching people, the vibes. But I remained consistent throughout my sickness so that it wouldn't be that hard to get back on track with everything once I got better. And I think that's really important, and with that obviously I think breaks are important. I'm glad I didn't take a break from the podcast when I went to Philly for my 21st, which is where I got the flu. But I was also not consistent because I didn't post a video because my photo booth didn't work, and I also didn't have a microphone, so then the audio was a little worse. But I was consistent in the fact I still got an episode up, so I'm not gonna hold myself to super high hurtful standards where I'm upset when I'm not being consistent, but I do want to hold myself to a standard where consistency is key in my life, and I do value it a lot because I do value it. I do think consistency is you practicing how you can be better and practicing how you want to approach each day. So I guess that's what I want to talk about, and not only consistency in your actions and how you work, but also in your thought patterns. But yeah, we'll just get right into it. So I guess I just touched on, there is an importance to waking up. I find, at least, I'm going to talk about me, not anybody else. I find an importance in my consistent schedule of things that I do. So waking up early in the morning, getting some work done in the morning, trying to make myself breakfast every day before I leave, trying to make a drink of some sort. That hasn't really been consistent in my life, coffee, just because I'm trying to stay away from caffeine, and I don't really like tea. But besides the point, I try to be consistent with how I go to class. I try not to miss class, just because the second I would miss a class, I'm gonna tell myself oh, well, you obviously didn't miss that much last time, so you can miss again and again and again and again, and then it just becomes a cycle. So for me, I'd rather be in a cycle of consistency than a cycle of haphazardness, if that is the correct use of the word. Just really important, and I think I find comfort in it almost as much as it pushes me, and sometimes it's uncomfortable because I have to work so hard or I'm missing out on things, but it just is important to me, and it does help me function as a human being, I would say. And I think people can relate to that because it's a pattern, it's a habit. You get in a habit of doing a good daily routine, then it won't even feel like work to be consistent. And that just helps me, because when things start to feel too work oriented or too pressured, I'm just no, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done being consistent with this. YouTube in the past for me, I've tried so many times to be a consistent YouTube poster, and the second that the editing part of it felt jobby or worky or not fun, I was so I'm not doing this. I'm not gonna post a video again, because the fun was out of it somehow. With the podcast, I'm actually really proud of myself. I know we're only on episode 6, but I have taken the time every Sunday to sit down since I started and just record my thoughts and get after it. So mostly probably because I do record on Photo Booth, and all I have to do is like drag the YouTube video into YouTube and then convert the audio and get it onto Spotify, so it's really not that difficult. But maybe that's why. But it does take, like, I do write like notes to talk about, even if I don't always hit them all, and I still do have to sit here. Like, I have other work I could be doing, but I did put this aside. Oh, total sidebar, I have like the worst anxiety ever right now, and I really didn't want to record the podcast. But I also didn't want to do it at night because I have someone coming to look at my apartment for when I go abroad. And basically, these people in this organization want to talk to me before we start our meeting tonight, which is another thing I have tonight. And I was like, no. I was like, can you just like Zoom me, or like can we talk about it on FaceTime? And they were like, no, like don't worry, we're talking to other people too. And I was like, no, like you guys just gave me really bad anxiety for like the next 4 hours, so thanks for that. But they're not going to tell me over Slack or over Zoom, so I guess I just have to find out when I get there, and I'll let you guys know next week what it was, because I let authority, and they're not even that much authority, like they're still students, but I let that like freak me out and like eat at me. Wait, I need to take one of these off. Okay, I just need to like hear my own volume. But yeah, sorry, I need to get back to the point, but just know that like I'm super anxious right now. I don't know if I should have let you in on that, but now you know. So yeah, not to say like with consistency being good for me and everything, like it does not mean it's easy. That's something I definitely wanted to touch on, especially when you're like coming back from a break, or like when seasons are changing. That is the time where you're like, so let me like scrap everything I've been doing and just like stop it all, and yeah, we'll figure it out from there. When in reality, like I wonder, like I was just basically on a break when I went to Philly. Like that's a vacation for me, and I wonder like if I didn't film that episode or record that episode on Sunday, like if I would be here right now doing it, because I feel like my brain would have been like, oh, like you missed last week, you know, you can just miss a week again, like over and over and over again. And I think that's why I keep myself, sorry, that was my washer. I think that's why I keep myself on such a strict schedule, because the second I get off of it, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, you can like miss that too. I'm like, it doesn't really matter that much, but like it does. And it's a lot of like self-responsibility and self-accountability that it takes to be consistent, I think. But like, especially when seasons like change into fall, like all summer, definitely not this summer as much, but like last summer I could work out like every day, like 5 a.m. and just wake up so early, get like 2 workouts in sometimes. And this is not like this past summer, but the one before that. Granted, I was fueled with the rage of like being cheated on, but still, fall came along and I was like, so the workout grind like stops now. I couldn't like pick it back up, and honestly I haven't really been able to pick it back up. Like this summer I kind of worked out. It was mostly like walks and stuff and like cycling, but with school being so like tough and me being so consistent with school and like extracurriculars, it's been really hard for me to like want to work out. And that's the thing about consistency, like the second you start beating yourself up about something, the less you're gonna want to do it, because like you're just gonna push it away further, because it's like procrastination. Like I feel like it's like procrastinating is the opposite of being consistent, because you can either get your work done and have a plan in your mind, like, oh, I know this thing is due Wednesday, I have time on Sunday, let me work on it on Sunday. Or, you know, it's Wednesday 8 p.m. and you're like, okay, let me start. When like that's not how you function, then you start thinking like, oh, I can do that for my next paper, I can do that for my next test, like, and then all of a sudden, you know, you might not be getting bad grades, but you might be like cramming more, and you might be stressing yourself out more, and you might be having to say no to things because you have to stay in at night and like do this project, or you don't stay in and like you go and don't get it done, and you know, then it's like even more of a shit show. So I think it's just like finding that happy medium of like things you want to do, you want to be consistent. Whoa, what is the word? Consistency. Consistent. Yeah, oh my god. I've said it too much that I like forgot what it is. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, like, you gotta fall in love with what you're doing, and you gotta be consistent with it, and there's gotta be a passion. Like, that's literally what this podcast is. I was like super passionate about starting one, super excited to start one, and like now it's here and I have the capability to, you know, post about it and like advertise it. And obviously I'm not being like too loud about it because I don't want like everyone that follows my regular Instagram to see it, but I appreciate those who are following me, maybe from like it being linked in my bio, or, you know, just from random things, and listening. I appreciate it very much. But like, this doesn't feel like pressury or like jobby to me. So like, I want to show up every week, and I want to show up for myself and like be consistent for myself, because I know it's going to make me better, because this is almost like a second therapy for me. Like I actually get to write in my journal. Like, journaling is something I would love to be consistent with. But the second I like try to think about even doing it, I'm like, no, because it feels like you're just doing it to say, like, in my head, like, oh, I journaled. But when I get here in my podcast and I'm writing notes and all of a sudden like everything's spewing out, I'm like, oh, I'm doing this for a purpose. So I think I find being consistent to be easier when I have like a purpose and a passion behind something. And like with me for school, my purpose and passion and whatever the hell I'm doing here is all fueled by like my drive to get into law school, be good when I'm at law school, because like you can get in and you can not know what the hell you're doing once you get there. Like, you have to be a great writer, you have to be a great communicator, like you have to know how to time manage, you have to be in the library from, you know, whatever time to whatever time, attend your classes, like go back to the library. Like, you don't have a life. Like, law school is a job. So I feel like I'm in training for that job right now. And the only thing that like keeps me so consistent is the fact that I'm like, you're not going to get that job if you don't train like you are now. So as much as that's like a lot of pressure on myself and it's like really far away, it's what fuels me, because like I'm not passionate about every like, you know, class I have to take or whatever and like the work I have to do for it. But, you know, I set myself up where like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday are big work days, like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are big like extracurricular days, like kind of catching up days, and then Saturdays are like chill. I either have my internship or I don't, and I'm like traveling or something. But yeah, I just think like along with your thoughts, which is something that's like more philosophical, which I love getting into, but I think when you're your truest self is when you're being consistent, because you're aligned with that like version of yourself that wants to like grow and wants to learn and be better and be new. Because along with everything, if your like thought process is constantly like different or constantly back and forth or constantly negative, and that's your thought pattern, that is the consistency in it, like you're going to struggle. Because I heard on a podcast this morning actually that like your brain and like your body, so like the signals it sends to your body, doesn't know the difference between like thinking about something happened to you and thinking about something that has happened to you and experiencing something that has happened to you. So if you're stuck in this like consistent pattern of like, well, like your past and thinking about like your trauma and bad things that have happened to you, like your body thinks you're reliving that. And that is why it's so hard to break down. So you have to try your hardest to catch those thoughts like in the moment. and be like, okay, so you're here with me now. Like this thought, you're here. You gotta swim somewhere else, thought. Like you gotta go, because I want a pattern and a consistent pattern of positivity and thinking about good things that have happened to me, because you're in control up here. And if you can say like, you know what, no, we're shutting that down, we're not thinking about that today, move on, you're already like 100 steps ahead of so many people out there, because like so many of us live in this consistent past life that does not exist anymore. And I am so guilty of this, and I'm trying to be really better about it, because it's so unfair to yourself. Because like the same thing, like I'm making moves and being consistent in my everyday life. Like I'm taking care of myself, like definitely taking care of school. I'm probably taking care of school more than I'm taking care of myself, so I definitely have something to change there as well. There's like always something to improve on. But it's the fact that there's consistency in general in my life, because then I can go, oh, you're being consistent here, then you can be consistent here too. And you can be consistent creatively. Consistent. Oh my God, am I saying the word wrong? Consistent. Consistency. I'm saying it right. I'm freaking myself out because I'm saying it too much. Oh my God, I feel like Emma Chamberlain. She's always like, am I saying that word right? Like, and she always is. Anyway, we're gonna move past that. Consistent. I'm saying it right. Okay. So it's just like, whatever brings you that peace and like that knowing that you're doing better and you're like on the right path, like that's what you got to stick with, like those thoughts. So like those healthy habits, those healthy thought patterns, the healthy feelings. And the negative ones, that's like all your emotional intelligence taken over right there. And you either say, if you're an emotionally intelligent person, you say, okay, breathe. Well, not if you're an emotionally intelligent person. I think we're all capable of being that. And I think we all have days where we are and where we're not. But you can say, like, breathe. I like how I'm using my pen like a wand. Sorry, audio listeners, you can't see that. But I'm, like, swinging it around. But you gotta work to change them if you want to be emotionally intelligent, because that's what it takes. And, like, if you're serious about something and you have what it takes, you gotta put in what it takes to get what you want out of it. And that's how I see consistency in my life. Like, I give and I get what I want out of it. I give the time, I get my straight A's. I give, you know, the 15 minutes of writing my thoughts down. I get the serotonin of posting my like 35-minute long podcast, and the thoughts like, I have a podcast, like I'm so happy, like stuff like that. You know, like you give healthy emotions and like actions to a relationship, like you're hopefully gonna get that back to you. And you give, it's like karma, like you give good energy into the world, like you're gonna get it back. You give bad energy, you give negative feelings, you give no time to your passions, no time to, you know, the things that you want to accomplish in your life. What are you getting? Nothing, because you gave nothing. Like that is kind of how I'm wired right now. And like today, like yesterday I did nothing. I felt like crap about it, but I really needed to do nothing because of how sick I was. But like today I woke up at 6:30, sent a couple emails, finished grading all my quizzes that aren't even due until like Friday because I'm a TA, so like all my kids' quizzes. I went and got this microphone from Asher because I wanted to be consistent with my audio, because I don't want to slight you guys on the quality of the podcast. It's just like, yeah, I guess it's like how much you put into something is what you get out of it. And it's just like practice makes perfect. I used to hate that phrase because I was like, no, like what, especially when I was younger. I guess that's more in sports, because I would practice so badly. I would practice so much and I like was never perfect. But you shouldn't aim to be perfect. Like, you should aim to be perfect, like, for you, like, in your eyes. And I think that's something that I've been better at. Like, I am my only competition. I do not need to worry about what anyone else is doing, what anyone else is thinking of me. Like, boom, 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 boom. It's done. I'm in control. Like, I'm the only one that matters in this head of mine. So that's been really helpful, thinking thoughts like that. And I did want to talk about, I have like a media section this week. Not really like a media section, but some things that I want y'all to listen to, as well as some information my therapist shared with me. It's not really information, but I kind of want to call this like the therapist takes of my life, because I do have a therapist and she's great. But basically, in talking about a situation that happened, she said to me, like, abusers abuse in many forms. And like, that had my like jaw on the ground, like immediately, like, what did she say? Like, I just couldn't believe that, like, someone put it into words, like what some people are capable of. And again, reminded me of consistency, because some people are capable of continuing that cycle of abuse that they've learned and just have no empathy. They can lash out at people. They have no self-reflection. Like, they're bullies just because it's what is consistent in their head. It's what their head is telling them to be like. And it was just like wild to think about the fact that like abuse doesn't have to be like hitting or screaming. Like, people can be abusive in so many ways. And the second you like see that in someone, you need to like push away. You need to get out. They are not your problem anymore. They are not your responsibility. Like, everyone only deserves peace in this life, and if someone's taking that away from you, really do your best to like get away from them, because it is not worth it. And again, you want that high vibration, you want those happy vibes in your life, like, you have to work for them. Like, you consistently have to show up for yourself. Same way with the gym. Like, I have not been in the gym, I have not ran, cycled, because in my head I have it as like, this is a job. In reality, it's not. It's taking care of myself. Same way with school. Like, in reality, it's not a job. It's preparing for my future, getting myself a job so that I can support a family one day, you know? Like, something Asher and I have been talking about is like perspective, because he watched this like crazy documentary about a football player. I wish I knew his name, but he like snapped his leg in half and like went to rehab and like he got like back on the field and everything. He got hurt while playing football. And just like the fact that he said something along the lines of like, people would kill to be in my position right now. And that is so true, because he's like a major NFL like team football player. Like, yeah, you're hurt, but think about that perspective and think about how many people would like love to have a comeback story like you, and you can afford the hospital, and you have people around you to support you. You have a whole NFL team around you. You have a wife around you. Like, when you take a step back and you think about perspective, sometimes that's when it's most motivational to me to be consistent. Because I'm like, I have this opportunity to do all these things. Like, I was granted this life of like extravagance. Like, not that I have like everything in the world, but like compared to a lot of people on this earth, like, we all have a lot going on that some people just cannot relate to. So as long as you are like taking advantage of that and taking advantage of everything, then you know what? I think you're all good. But that's all I really got today. again, I am pretty anxious. I know I probably talked fast, but I hope that maybe helped anyone who's like stuck in a rut or anything. You got this. Think about the opportunities you have rather than the hardships that might come with doing the work, putting the work in. I know it's tough, but you're going to be more proud of yourself, and you're going to have practice, and you're going to create muscle memory by putting on those headphones, plugging in that microphone, writing on that journal, and starting anything you want to do. And that's a beautiful thing. And some songs that I've been loving. Oh my god, sorry. I have a cough right now. Definitely Angel Eyes by ABBA. Just like heard it this morning and I was like, yes, like I love this song. I'm gonna shout it out on the Gentlewoman. Also, all of Joji's new album, Smithereens. So good. And especially 1am Freestyle and Die For You, I really love. And lastly, I listened to a podcast today called Emotional Intelligence, which I talked about a little bit ago. And it was by a podcast called For the Healthy Hose. So I really liked that. She's the one, I don't know her name, but she's the one who talked about the fact that like your body cannot tell the difference between like reliving trauma and it actually happening. So I apologize for my voice if anything was a little crinkly from my illness, but I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. I love you all for listening. I love you all not for listening. I just like love everyone. So much vibes, so much fun. Just trying to be happy. I'm going to change my negative thoughts. I'm going to change my anxious thoughts and just say, you know what, maybe they're going to say something good to me. Maybe what they say to me I'll have a good rebuttal for. You know, can't let them get me down. Okay. Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye.